Good day, friends. Now we will discuss environmental issues in valuation. This is an important part of your syllabus as far as IBBI examination is concerned. In this case, you have to study issues which are important from valuation point of view. Otherwise, environmental issues are a very large huge subject in which you may need to learn a lot of things, but here we will be concerning only that part which is related to IBBI examination. So we will try to make the things easier and will confine ourselves to only that part which is important from IBBI examination point of view. As far as syllabus is of IBBI examination is concerned, here you have to study environmental issues in valuation, in environment and valuation, difference between market price and the negative value consequent on environmental impact, environmental issues of air pollution, water pollution, environmental factors and their effects, measures to restore damage, cost to cure, and in these cases, as far as air pollution, water pollution, or other things are concerned, we have to confine ourselves only for valuation part only. And then you have to study certain legislations as regarding environmental legislations, Indian Forest Act 1927, Water Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1974, Air Prevention and Control Act 1981, the Environmental Protection Act 1986. So as far as environmental legislations are concerned, you have to study these acts, and then in addition to that, you have to study certain laws which are related to industrial health and safety. As far as weightage is concerned, it has a weightage of 3% in the examination. So first, as far as your syllabus is concerned, is environment and valuation. So what is the relation between environment and valuation? So here we will be dealing with first things which are important from real estate valuation point of view. So we will try to know the relation between the relation between environment and valuation. So what basically where we will discuss what the environmental factors which can influence real estate valuation. So as far as our concern is we have to deal it with the things which are important for real estate valuation point of view. So environmental factors that can influence real estate valuation are first one thing is greenery and landscaping. So the properties which are having ample greenery and a well and maintained landscape, they will have higher values. So for instance, the properties with more greenery and attractive landscape features command higher prices. Second thing is proximity to water bodies. So water is an important part of our life. So the properties which are nearer to the water bodies like lakes, rivers, they can have higher values due to scenic view. One thing is due to scenic view, but then there is the other part is also there, that these properties may be flood affected. So the properties which are nearer to water bodies but are affected by the floods or in the flood prone areas might see lower value. So why the properties are having higher values near water bodies? Because of scenic view, recreational opportunities, etc., what they offer. So you have to remember this thing. So proximity to water bodies you understand, and then noise pollution. So how noise pollution affect, this is very well known to all the participants, that areas with high noise pollution, they, such as those which are nearer to airports or busy highways, they have lower property value. Then air pollution, as far air pollution is concerned, so areas with high air pollution, sorry, instead of noise pollution it is high air pollution, they are typically having lower value, such as properties which are nearer to industrial areas, which where the noise pollution is very high, they have lower property value because of high air pollution. And then water pollution. So as with water air pollution, so properties which are nearer to polluted rivers or lakes, such as those affected by industrial discharge. So basically, those in these days, Buddha Nala in Ludhiana, which is similar to this polluted rivers, they affect the properties values, and of course, in this case, they will see reduced values. Second, these two, this is very important topic, energy efficiencies. Nowadays, the things such as green buildings, sustainability, energy efficient buildings, they are very important things. So property with energy efficient features such as solar panels, which are having solar panels or a high efficiency heating system, they can have higher values, Then environmental risk. So nowadays, you have to, when in many projects you have to take permissions from the environmental authorities, and the properties which may cause environmental risk, you may not get permissions to start that projects. So properties which are in the areas which are prone to environmental risk. So environmental risk may be of any type. It may be flooding, it may be landslide, it may be pollution of any kind, such as water pollution, air pollution, noise pollution, etc. They can have lower values. So for example, the properties which are affected by floods, maybe we call it that these properties are in the flood zones, they might be less attractive to the buyers. So if they are less attractive to the buyer, means it will leads to lower prices. So the next topic in your syllabus is market where price and negative environmental value. So market price or market value, as a value, what is market price. So market price, the price at which a product or service is sold in the market. So the price at which a product or service is sold in the market. So reflecting the direct cost of production. So, for example, a gallon of gasoline might be sold for rupees 100. So, gasoline means if it is being sell at a price of 100 rupees, it means it includes the cost of crude oil, it includes the cost of refining, it includes the cost of distribution and cost of retail margins. All these things are included in this amount, 1000, sorry, 100 rupees, for example. Now see the difference between market price and negative environmental value. So now whenever anything like gasoline, petrol, diesel, etc. is sold, so it will cause air pollution, or any, when it is used, it will cause some type of pollution. So that will be the things which will result in indirect costs. These are the direct costs. These things, cost of crude oil, refining, distribution, retail margin. But indirectly, because of pollution, some indirect costs may be associated. Why? Because of environmental damage caused by the production or consumption of a product. So whenever you use certain products, just as gasoline, so it may cause some environmental damage, and this will lead to indirect cost. So these things are not included in the market price. These things, see here. So market price includes these things, but the indirect costs which are related with the environmental damage, they are not included in the cost, the price. So this is negative environmental value. So for example, see the same gallon of gasoline when burned emits carbon dioxide and other pollutants, contributing to air pollution and climate change. But these environmental costs, so what it will result in? These things will result in health impacts, climate mitigation expenses. These are not included in the market price. They are not included or reflected in rupees 100. So this is negative environmental value. So this value is not reflected in the market price. This is basically the indirect costs which are related with the environmental damage. So how you can address the gap, how you can reduce the difference. So how basically how you can reduce this indirect cost as an environmental, what you can do, you can, to address the gap between market price and negative environmental value means indirect cost of due to effect of pollutants, what we can do, carbon pricing. So, and you know, in many countries, especially in developed country, carbon taxes or cap and trade system are being adopted to incorporate the cost of carbon emissions. Then you can have strict environmental standards and regulations so that so as to reduce negative effects. And third thing is sustainable practices. So encouraging the adoption of sustainable practices in production and consumption. See here, both in production as well as in production consumption to minimize environmental damage. So now, what are the environmental issues and what are their effects on real estate valuation as far as your syllabus is concerned? Air pollution. So air pollution, as far as definition or of air pollution is concerned, it is contamination of indoor or in outdoor environment. Air pollution is contamination of indoor or outdoor environment by any chemical, physical, or biological agent that is available in the air and that modifies the natural characteristics of the atmosphere. So, how it affects? So, poor air quality can significantly reduce property value. So, basically, we have to deal air pollution, how it can affect the value of the property. So, basically, our concern is related with the effect of air pollution on the property value. So of course, poor air quality will reduce the property value. So the properties with the in the areas with the high level of pollution offer see decreased demand due to health issues concerns and reduce the quality of life. So in highly polluted areas can see a reduction up to 15%. This is just an example, maybe less or maybe higher as compared to similar properties in cleaner areas. So how can you restore measures means how you can reduce air pollution. So what you can do, you can have stricter emission controls, promoting green spaces, and using air purification technology to improve air quality. So, how much it will cost? Basically, cost to cure means how much it will cost for restoration measures. So the cost includes installing. So when this purification is to be done, you require to install air quality monitoring system, then upgrading infrastructures to reduce emissions, and planting trees. For instance, improving air quality in urban areas like Delhi involved substantial investment in public transportation and green infrastructure. As you know, in public transportation nowadays in Delhi, most of the vehicles which are being used for public transportation are electrical vehicle, EV. Then next one is water pollution. So water pollution, as you know, in air pollution, it also is because of release of substances into basically subsurface surface groundwater. So release of substances into subsurface groundwater or into lakes or into streams, rivers, waterways and oceans. Basically industrial waste or agricultural waste, when it is directly thrown into lakes, streams, rivers, waterway, oceans, to the point of that substance interferes with the beneficial use of water. So when it cannot be beneficially used or with the natural functioning of ecosystem, then we say that it is water pollution. So how it affects? It can significantly depreciate, result in depreciation of the property values, especially in waterfront properties. For example, groundwater contaminated from agricultural runoff may reduce the property value by from 2 to 6%, and more severe contamination from industrial charge may lead up to 15% decrease. So how it can be reduced? So we can use wastewater treatment. We may implement stricter regulations, and we should stop industrial discharge into the directly into the water bodies, and promoting sustainable agricultural practices. So how much it will cost? The cost include building advanced wastewater treatment plants, cleaning of contaminated water bodies, enforcing regulations. For example, cleanup of Ganga required significant investment but resulted in improved water quality and increased property values. Then next is noise pollution. So noise pollution, what is noise pollution? Basically, it is unwanted or excessive sounds. Unwanted or excessive sounds that can negatively impact human health. Not only human health, it can also affect wildlife and environmental quality. So common sources of noise pollution are traffic, industrial activities, construction, and loud music. So, such as the properties which are near to airport, highways, railways, they often suffer from noise pollution, and it can lead up in decrease on the value of the properties which are within the radius of 3.5 kilometer from an airport, can see the prices reduction by up to 13%. This is just an example. So how we can restore? What restore measures we can use? We can install sound barrier, use noise reducing building materials, and implementing zoning regulations to limit noise pollution. So what will be the cost? Cost will include construction of sound barriers, restoring buildings with noise reducing materials, retrofitting buildings with noise reducing material. For example, soundproofing homes nearer to highways can be expensive, but it can significantly improve property values. And then is soil contamination. Soil contamination, it is also known as soil pollution, which occurs when harmful substances are present in the soils at that level, which pose a risk to the human health, ecosystem, or environment. These contaminants come from various sources, including industrial activities, agricultural chemicals, etc. So, how it can affect? It can contaminate the soil. Contaminate the soil can lead to health risk, which will reduce property value. So, how you can restore? Soil remediation techniques such as bioremediation, soil washing, and excavation. So, what will be the cost? Which cost will depend upon the extent of contamination and the chosen method of contamination. For example, cleaning up of contaminated industrial site can be costly, but it will result in restore property values and ensure safety. So, for all these, we may have an integrated approach such as regulatory measures, enforcing environmental regulations, and then technological innovations means using advanced technology to reduce the pollution and providing remediations. Then main thing is community involvement. Until and unless all of us are engaged in this thing, reducing environmental pollution, so this thing cannot be s- implemented. So engaging in local communities in sustainability initiatives. Next in India syllabus is environmental legislations in India. The first one is Indian Forest Act 1927. It was promulgated in 1927. Its objective was to consolidate the laws relating to forest, the transit of forest produce, and the duty leviable on timber and other forest produce. So, what were its key provision? First provision is reserved forest. So, area designated for conservation. So, first thing is this is declared by the government departments, area, designated area for the conservation where all activities are prohibited unless permitted. So, protected forest. What are the protected forests? The areas with partial protection where certain activities are regulated. In reserved forest, no activities are permitted. In protected forest, certain activities are regulated. See here. And village forest assigned to a village community for management and use. So you must remember these things. What are reserved forest, what are protected forests, and what are village forests. There are three types of forests. So in reserved forests, almost all the activities are prohibited. In protected forest, certain activities are regulated, and in village forest, forests are assigned to the village community for management and use. So what are the penalties and procedures? So it defines of what are the forest offenses, and it defines penalties and violation. So violating these prohibition can result in fines, imprisonment, or both, depending upon the severity of the offense. So activity prohibited as per the Indian Forest Act are grazing, tree felling, hunting and fishing, quarrying, cultivation, collection of forest produce. Then Water Prevention and Control Act 1975. So sorry, it was promulgated in 1974. Its objective was to prevent and control water pollution and maintain or restore the wholesomeness of the water. So, what are the key provisions under this act? Central and state pollution control boards are established. They have the powers to set the standards, inspect the facilities, and enforce regulations. So, they can impose fines and imprisonment for non compliance with the act. So, next is air pollution. Then Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. So it was promulgated in 1981. So what is its objective? Its objective is to prevent, control and abate air pollution. So what are its key provisions? So similar to water pollution, same act here, central and state pollution control boards are established under this water pollution act. The same board is for air pollution act also. So they set emission standards for regulation of emission standards for industrial plants, vehicle, etc. And fines and imprisonments can be uh, imposed for non-compliance of this act. Then Environmental Protection Act 1986, its objective was protection and improvement of environment. What is its objective? Prevention and improvement of environment and the matters connected with it. Key provision under the central government have the powers to take measures for environmental protection. Here gives power to the central government to take environmental protection, including setting standards and regulations for industrial activities. Then, it defines and regulates pollutants which are harmful to the environment. Then, strict penalties for non-compliance, including fines and imprisonment. So, it is basically an umbrella legislation, means all acts for environment, they are under this act. So it act as a comprehensive framework for environmental protection, integrating various environmental laws. So these legislations form the backbone of Indian environmental regulatory framework, aiming to protect and preserve national natural resources while promoting sustainable development. And then in your syllabus are certain laws related to health and safety in India. The first one is Factories Act 1948. What is its objective? Its objective is to ensure health, safety, and welfare of workers. Where? In factories. So, what are its key provisions? As far as health is concerned, to ensure cleanliness, proper ventilation, and adequate lighting. Safety, so safety mandates safety measures like fencing of machinery, provisions of safety gear, regular maintenance of machinery. Basically, so welfare, it includes provision for drinking water, restroom, first aid facilities, etc. Then next one is Mines Act 1952. So its objective is to regulate the working conditions in mines, basically, and ensure safety and health of miners. So what are its key provisions? Requires proper ventilation, safe machinery and emergency protocols for mines, for health, mandates regular medical examination of the persons who are involved in it, and provision of clean drinking water. Then welfare, it includes provisions for housing, education, and recreational facilities for minors and their for the minors and their families. The next one is Employees State Insurance Act 1948. So its objective is to provide social security and health insurance to the workers. So, what are the key provisions? First thing is medical benefit. It provides medical care to the insured workers and their families. So, say here, it includes their families, insured workers and their families. It cash benefit offers financial supports during sickness, maternity, and employment injury. Rehabilitation, it includes provisions for physical and vocational rehabilitation. The next is Occupational Safety, Health and Working Condition Code 2020. This is very important. It is recently added in 2020. Its objective is to consolidate and amend the laws regulating the occupational safety, health and working condition of workers. What are its key reasons? Safety. It ensures the safe working conditions. First thing is safe working condition. Second is proper training. And third, provide them safety equipment. Health. As far health is concerned, it maintains regular health checkups, clean drinking water, and sanitation facilities to the workers. Welfare, it includes provisions for canteens, restrooms, and crèches for the workers. Examples of implementation, how these acts are implemented in manufacturing industry. Factories Act 1940 Act ensures that manufacturing units maintain safe machinery, provide safety gears to the worker, and conduct regular safety drills. So, how it will affect improved worker safety and reduce accidents in the factory. In mining industry, which act is applicable? Is the Miners Act 1950. So mining industry, so for mining industry you have Miners Act, Mines Act. So what it mandates, it maintains regular health checkups and safety measures like proper ventilation and emergency protocols. So how it will impact? It will enhance safety and health condition for miners, reducing occupational hazards. Then healthcare for workers. So employees State Insurance Act 1948, it involves healthcare for workers. It provides medical care and financial support for workers during illness or injury. So it will impact it in better health outcomes and financial security for workers and their families. Next is cost to implement safety measures. So initially, you know, the cost of installing safety equipment, conducting training program may be expensive, expensive, but it will result in long-term benefits such as reducing workplace accidents, improved workers' health, and increased productivity that can offset initial costs. For example, implementing comprehensive safety measures in a factory may involve significant upfront investment, but it can lead to lower accident rates and higher employees' morale, ultimately benefiting the business. So these acts, they if they are effectively implemented, they are crucial for ensuring safety, health, and welfare of workers across various industries in India. So this is all about environmental issues in valuation. Thank you all. Have a nice day, friends.